A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Weekend Primetime News. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Police investigation launched into alleged assault of a Gram Niladhari by UPFA MP Nimal Vijay Singha. Police officer is run down and killed by a motorcycle he attempted to flag down in Udupi Lagampaha. Civil Defence Force member murdered and burnt in Anuradhapura. Acting chairman of Sipetco says the pumping of fuel to Mutturajavela is still dysfunctional.
And for the stories in detail now. The Gram Niladhari allegedly assaulted by Kurunegala district parliamentarian Nimal Vijay Singha is continuing to receive treatment at the Kurunegala teaching hospital. A police investigation into the alleged assault is currently underway.
The Ceylon Electricity Board recently laid down markers to cut down trees in the path of proposed electricity cables in the Ambakota area on the Kurunegala-Ridhigama road. One of these trees, a jack tree, was cut down by a group of youth recently. The Gram Niladhari of Ambakota Division 617 visited the location to inspect the situation.
I told them that they need a permit to cut down the tree. Marking it does not mean it can be cut down. I told them they need to obtain the permit from the divisional secretariat. The youth who had been cutting down the tree had later informed MP Nimal Vijay Singha of the matter via telephone. Although the MP had asked for the phone to be handed over to the Gram Niladhari, the Gram Niladhari had refused to speak with him. The Gram Niladhari says he did not accept the phone call as it would have been illegal for him to do so while on duty. The person cutting down the tree was one of his aides, I believe. I told him for about 20 minutes to stop, and then I went to see the other trees. At that time, MP Nilwala came here and parked his car across the road. He used foul language, grabbed me by my shirt and slapped me. I fell and then he kicked me in the stomach.
Kurunegala District MP Nimal Vijay Singha rejected these allegations.
I
did reprimand the Gram Niladhari because I am the MP representing the Doranga Slanda electorate. I reject allegations of assault.
In spite of the MP's denial, another Gram Niladhari who was at the scene confirmed the incident.
MP Nilwala Vijay Singha and his guards, who were armed, surrounded us and used foul language and asked him if he was the Gram Niladhari. He slapped the Gram Niladhari and said that he was a new person who did not know who he was. At that point, my colleague fell down. When he fell, he came close to him and hit him again. They surrounded us with guns and there was nothing we could do. We were on duty. We are officers who work 24 hours of the day and there was no one to help us. His bodyguards were there carrying firearms.
Over the recent past, several incidents where public officials being assaulted while carrying out their duties have been reported. A Samurdi officer who was allegedly tied to a tree by Minister Mervyn Silva has left the country. An army officer who was involved in a brawl with Minister Mervyn Silva's son Malaka Silva later withdrew the charges. A police officer who carried out his duties and apprehended Deputy Minister Hemal Gunasekara for speeding on the Southern Expressway later resigned from the police department.
What we are experiencing at the moment, unfortunately, is a total breakdown of law. And there are certain sections of this country who are not subjected to law. And those people abuse authority and they even obstruct the officials exercising lawful authority. Unfortunately, there is no atmosphere or a proper conducive atmosphere for public servants to discharge their lawful duties. Everybody should be bound by law. Unfortunately, it is not happening. So what we should see and what we should demand is the enforcement of law and order equally, without impunity. Unfortunately, there is no such situation prevailing at the moment.
A police officer was killed in a collision which occurred in the Udupila area in Lagampaha early this morning. Now, this tragic incident occurred when a motorcyclist refused to heed to police orders.
Police officers who were stationed in close proximity to the Udupila junction ordered a motorcycle travelling from Belgoda to Meghawatha to stop. However, the motorcyclist refused to heed to police orders. Thereafter, the police officer who were at the Udupilla junction at the time notified the Meghawatha police, and the officer on duty at a security post in the area signalled the motorcyclist to halt.
A loud noise was heard. When I went outside, I saw the police officer. He was covered in blood.
The police officer, who was later admitted to hospital, succumbed to his injuries. The victim was identified as 51-year-old W.R. Lal Dayaratna, a father of 3 and a resident of Hasyala. The motorcyclist and the passenger also sustained injuries in the incident and were admitted to the Udupilla hospital and are under police surveillance.
We took both of them to the Udupilla hospital in my truck.
According to the police, initial investigations revealed that the 2 riders were under the influence of alcohol at the time.
A SLTV bus was destroyed when it caught fire in the ISP Hill area on the Haputale-Beragala road. Newsfirst has received footage captured on a mobile phone of the bus on fire. Now, the police say the bus caught fire while travelling from Bellavai to Badulla via Beragala. The police say the fire broke out at around 9 o'clock this morning and that none of those on board the bus had been injured. Now, as the Uva Provincial Council election draws closer, the campaign trail is heating up. With all the views being expressed across party lines, up next is a battle for Uva.
There is no development for the people. The people do not have enough to eat and drink. You do not have any money in your hands. You have no spices in your kitchens. You cannot afford a pair of shoes for your children. If that is the case, how can this be the miracle of Asia?
Tea, rubber, coconut, cinnamon, cocoa, pepper, mung beans, cowpea and kurakan. All of this is cultivated in Uva Vallasa. Therefore, we need to be ashamed of the poverty and hunger here. At times, we have to spend whatever we have in order to make ends meet. I too have done this. Now that we have brought development and provided infrastructure, all that is left to do is reduce your cost of living.
This is what the government always says. Although they have no money to build elephant fences in Sri Lanka, they have plenty of Sri Lankan tax money to do development work for other countries. The largest animal in Sri Lanka is attacking and killing people in Uva. At a time like this, they are asking for votes from Uva. We ask why we should vote for these things.
When people used to travel on the 18-Ben road to Mahiyangane, they wrote up the will for their property before departing. In case they mistake the reverse gear or misstep on the clutch, it is a vertical drop. His Excellency President Mahinda Rajapaksa reconstructed this road for us at a cost of 6 billion. This is their program of turning the truth into lies. We must remember the difference between our government and the United National Party. They want to know if development can be eaten and if carpeted roads can be eaten. It was said that there was a rock in the harbour. There was a rock and it was removed. Now they have nothing to say. They trumpet about building various roads. It is true that roads must be built. When they sink 250 billion into the Hambantota port, they call it development. If even 1% of this was given to the people of this country, each family would receive at least 500,000.
Prime Minister of Portugal, Pedro Passos Coelho, stated that Portugal was interested in improving relations with Sri Lanka, not only in the economic sector, but also in cultural and political arenas as well. The Portuguese Prime Minister expressed these views after meeting with the Sri Lankan President at Temple Trees today.
The Portugal Prime Minister arrived in the country this morning. The visiting Prime Minister stated that the visit is a good opportunity not only to discuss matters pertaining to bilateral relations, but also others of international significance. The presidential media unit added that the Sri Lankan President has informed the Portuguese Prime Minister of the loss of infrastructure in the north and other areas as a result of the war. The President also explained the level of commitment of Sri Lanka towards the reconciliation process.
Up next is Action TV.
The end-of-term examinations that are currently underway in schools in Katugastota make it evident that the education authorities feel that art students who are sitting for the ordinary level examinations this year and who are to sit for the examinations next year have abnormal vision. It is only the art and Sinhala language question papers that have been provided so far for the end-of-term examinations, which commenced on Thursday. Students have not answered more than half the questions in the art question paper since they were left with no other alternative. Although questions have been asked based on pictures printed on the question paper, the pictures in question are unidentifiable. Some of the typographical errors in the Sinhalese language question paper are an insult to the language. It is the students that have been burdened with these question papers. This letter, which does not show that students are being charged money directly for the question papers, was issued by the Katugastota Zonal Education Office. According to the letter, the compact disc containing the question papers has been submitted to the schools, and the responsibility of printing the question papers has been conferred on the schools themselves. The assistance of private companies cannot be sought for printing question papers as per this letter. Given the conditions, it is possible that the heads of schools have printed the question papers using resources they already possess. Given that all the Zonal Education Office has done in this case is compile a CD, and the fact that the printing of question papers has been conferred on the schools, a question arises as to why the Zonal Education Office in Katugastota is even needed. At the maiden sitting of the new Central Provincial Council, a councillor revealed that a sum of 650 million rupees had been spent on sittings of the previous Provincial Council, also pointing out the fact that the majority of decisions taken by the previous council remain unimplemented. At the same time, following the election of that council, an idea exchange workshop was held in Trincomalee at a cost of millions of rupees. Isn't it both farcical and unfortunate at the same time that children have to pay to face such substandard question papers under a provincial council that spends so much money? Governor of the Central Province, this is over to you.
2 months and 8 days have passed since a group of university lecturers alleged that Minister of Education Bandula Gunawardena interfered in the preparation of the advanced level economics examination on 2 occasions. Now, in this period, the minister extended a challenge in Parliament to which the university lecturers have since responded. All that is left now is for the minister to act in keeping with the challenge he extended in Parliament.
I wish to note that as the minister, I have not even considered politicizing the examination process. And if any person is able to prove tomorrow morning that I intervened in the examination process via a fax message in which I asked the commissioner to change some questions, then I will beg forgiveness from this Supreme House, including from the opposition members, the very next day.
මේ උත්තරීතර සභාවෙන් සමාව ගැනීමේ කාර්යභාරය පහුවදා උදේට මම ඉෂ්ට කරනවා.
Taking a look at another one of our headline-making stories, a civil security personnel has been burned to death in the Askirigam area in Anuradhapura. The police media spokesperson stated that an individual has been identified in connection with the incident.
The deceased was a 39-year-old father of 4 residing in Askirigama. He was stationed at the Mahameuna subgroup in Madavachia. The relatives stated that the deceased had left the house to pay the installment fee of a tractor.
He left around 7:30. The incident has happened when he was carrying about 200,000 rupees. I think this was done to get the money. I saw a big fire under the Kohoma tree. I went there to see what it was. I saw a motorcycle was burning and a man was also in the fire. I ran to inform the Grama Sevaka.
The Anuradhapura Chief Magistrate and the Additional District Judge ordered the remains to be sent to the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital for the post-mortem examination.
The Department of Meteorology warns that wind speeds in the Central Hills could reach up to 70 to 80 kilometers per hour. The Natural Disaster Warning Center at the Met Department issued this morning in the forecast for the next 24 hours. Meanwhile, the drought that has affected 3 districts in the country has had a debilitating effect on the day-to-day lives of the people. The Hambantota district has been the worst affected by the drought.
15 minor reservoirs that are nourished by the Mauwara reservoir in Hambantota have dried up completely. Some farmers are attempting to pump water out of wells in order to save their crops. We made inquiries from the district secretary of Hambantota regarding the matter.
If there is crop damage, it must be informed through the proper channels. There is a program to pay compensation via the fertilizer subsidy and through the insurance scheme. We are monitoring the crop damage. It will come to a situation where the farmers will have to take to the streets. The situation is very difficult. The final warning letter has come from the bank. All we can do now is consume poison. I have cultivated 3 acres and there will be no yield. Since about 20 reservoirs have no water, farmers could not cultivate. We were supposed to receive drought relief until the Maha season.
In Anuradhapura too, the dry weather conditions have caused paddy fields to wilt away. While the water levels of major reservoirs have dropped rapidly, the lack of water in minor reservoirs have caused farmers to face major hardships.
All the fields have wilted over both seasons. We ask that they provide some solution for this.
We're not asking for jobs. We live off agriculture. We ask that they somehow resolve the water problem. We ask that they repair these reservoirs and give us some relief.
These people have received nothing from the government.
The water levels of Giritale and Minnere reservoirs in the Polonnaruwa district too are declining rapidly. When Newsfirst visited the Parakrama Samudra, we witnessed the manner in which people were attempting to get water from the bed of the reservoir. The water levels of reservoirs under the Maha Valley Authority and Irrigation Department as of the day before yesterday were as follows.
Trade unions charge that though the buoy carrying oil from ships to the Colombo harbour was renovated, fuel is yet to be issued to the market. The trade union made this allegation during a media briefing in Colombo today.
The unloading of crude oil was halted on the 22nd of May owing to a fault in the pipeline transporting fuel from the sea to land. As a result, several ships carrying oil to the country were anchored outside the Colombo harbour, while the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation had to pay a penalty. Activities at the Sapugaskanda oil refinery also came to a standstill on the 22nd of June owing to the disruption of fuel to the plant.
Once a ship carrying crude oil reaches a harbour, the oil has to be unloaded within 4 days. That is the agreement. From the 4th day onwards, a penalty had to be paid for the delay. It's not $20,000. The minimum payment for a ship stands at $25,000. The subject minister claims that the payment is minimal. However, if you calculate $25,000 into 60 days, you would know how small the total amount is. I have not expressed such a sentiment. When I am not even aware of the amount, how could I claim it's 20,000? This statement has no basis. We did encounter a problem. We have to pay a surcharge for the delay. But the total value of the stock of oil that we have is $350 million. If we try to sell it, we would encounter a massive loss. The surcharge for the delay is not being calculated as yet. They said there won't be a fuel shortage. The CPC bought millions of litres of petrol from IOC. If there is no shortage, why would they purchase oil? There is something that he is unaware of. After the fuel storage facilities were privatized by the UNP, we maintain our fuel stocks with the IOC. When there is a shortage of fuel, we obtain fuel from the IOC. When they have a shortage, it works in reverse.
Meanwhile, the National Employees Association of the CPC charges that fuel is currently not being pumped to the Muthurajawala fuel storage facility. Its acting chairman S. Amarasekara said that as a result, refined oil is stored at the Colombo port. We recommence the work at the refinery. In about 2 to 3 days, we will be able to produce furnace oil with high sulfur. There won't be a shortage of high sulfur furnace oil for the moment. Therefore, in about 3 days, we can obtain high sulfur from the refinery.